Hi, and welcome to another one of our Digital Marketing Answered episodes from Innovation Visual. Really glad you could join us. And on this episode, I'm really excited to be talking about how to build trust with B2B buyers through thought leadership. And to cover this really exciting subject, I'm joined by Robyn Hartley, who is the founder of Paperkite Media. Robyn, lovely for you to be
Hi,
here.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, very much looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Well, I know that you've done a lot of work around supporting B2B brands by building authentic relationships and through delivering things like thought leadership strategies and influencer strategies in the B2B space. But can you tell us a little bit more about your background and your journey?
Yeah, of course. So I started working in marketing in 2012 now, so almost 12 years ago, or 12 years ago now. So yeah, I've worked in a variety of different roles, so both agency side and client side. Um, and both in B2C and B2B, but predominantly my experience sits on the B2B side. And most recently I've been providing kind of cross-channel media strategy for really complex, large-scale tech organizations with multiple business units. So yeah, and that's given me really great insight into how B2B buying has changed over the last few years. And yeah, it was always kind of, I've always wanted to go off on my own and start that, work for myself and build something, that I'm really proud of. And so that's where this step came in. And for me, I saw that there was a real opportunity to start supporting businesses as they're adapting to this change in buying behavior and how they can really help their customers a lot more.
Okay, well, that's really cool. So, I mean, starting off, like, what are the common challenges that B2B marketeers are finding when trying to engage with their buyers early in that journey?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think I mean I speak to a lot of marketing leaders who know they have a really great proposition, but at the moment they're kind of losing deals to competitors more often than they'd like, or they're seeing particularly long sales cycles without any kind of feedback or engagement from the people that they're trying to speak to, or they're experiencing really high customer acquisition costs. And this is typically because they're paying a huge amount on paid media, which and can be valuable, but when you there's a lot of change in the way that B2B buyer is behaving when they're going through that decision making process now. A lot of buyers are becoming, it's the younger generations. They're spending more time online, particularly more time on LinkedIn, and where they're getting that information as they make their decisions and they're kind of validating the decisions that they're making. That's all coming from a variety of different sources now. So yeah, so that content that the companies are typically producing at the moment, it might be really valuable content, but it's typically posted from the company account organically, or it will be pushed out via paid channels as an ad, or it will be kind of shared with the employees of that company to share out with a kind of pre-written post,
Blurb.
which might sound a
Yeah,
little bit kind of stiff or AI generated or something like that.
yeah.
And it fails to kind of resonate with the person at the other end a lot more, and build that trust over a sustained period of time.
So,
Um,
you're sort of saying that the underlying challenge is really greater cost of acquisition or loss of deals to competitors, potentially also this factor of just not getting cut through with message. And
yeah,
so, yeah, people, I get this thing where we see people having to throw a lot of money at paid media if they're not thinking smart about their strategies. So you started to talk there about the how some people do LinkedIn that you don't think is quite right. Can you expand on that a bit more?
yeah. So I think the intention is there. I think there are a lot of companies who want to. They understand the role that social media now is taking in that process, and so they want to make sure that they're pushing out this really helpful content to buyers to help them with their decision making. The problem is when if it feels like a very sales heavy post, or it feels less authentic. I think that word authentic is a bit kind of thrown around a lot at the moment, but it does instill trust with somebody, because they feel like they're actually talking to a human at the other side, as opposed to like a corporate kind of brand, if that makes sense. And it's not to say that people don't trust companies, they do, but they trust individuals and people more. And I think that's where the opportunity for companies lies at the moment, is to go, okay, well, we've got subject matter experts on our team, we've got people who can really share their knowledge and really add value to people and help them identify what their real challenges are, and give them information that they need, in a way that actually they're going to find engaging, and it doesn't feel like a sales push, it feels valuable.
So you mentioned people in the business, plural, that could be thought leaders.
Yeah.
How do you advise clients in terms of how to select or choose between people that are thought leaders? Because sometimes people go, oh well, this person's really technically brilliant, but I don't really want to put them as the face of the company. So how would that work?
Yeah, and and what I would say is it's a really good question, because I do get asked it a lot, but I think this shouldn't feel like a company mandated program, right? I mean, I've heard stories of leaders going to their teams and saying, we want you to become a thought leader, but they haven't given them any tools, resources, or support in actually doing that, or telling them what that looks like, or how that feels, and what that means in terms of building relationships with people. And so it's providing the support and making sure that anybody who does want to engage in it, and they have to be willing and wanting to do it and excited by it, because that's where you'll see the most results. And it should be someone who, maybe if they have a strong point of view on the industry and how, they've got really the credible experience and everything to back that up as well. And it'll be real experts in their field, and they're eager to share that information, basically. What I would also say as well is it's great for leaders of the company to be setting an example. So every leader has good ideas, that can benefit others. But it's so it could be anyone across the organization, lead from the top. And I would suggest that people within those who hold those strategic relationships with clients, maybe they're also in the BDRs, or building those early stage relationships, right through to customer success. But they need to be engaged in it and excited to do it, because it does take consistency and time, and there is an investment involved in that, but it can also hugely benefit them as well.
Yeah. What would you say, like, because we have a lot of marketing and revenue leaders listening to this podcast, what would you say to those people that might be fearful about promoting an employee, with the fear that then that employee will then be poached or leave to do something? How would you come back to that?
And again, I think this is quite a common thing, right? I think a lot of business leaders worry about that. But what I would suggest is, this highlights your company is a really great place to work, because you're showcasing that you're supporting your employees in growing their career, becoming more visible in the industry, elevating them, and you're going to help them do that. And that's a really empowering environment to work in, so you're more likely to retain staff that way. But not only that, also attract the best in market if there are people who are looking to also achieve something similar.
Okay, I like that. So don't be fearful, believe in yourself, and actually it's a positive. See it as a positive for those people in the team.
I think also as well, people need to feel confident to do this sort of stuff. And because of those attitudes of some leaders, where they may be quite, they see it as an indicator that maybe someone's ready to move on, or they're looking for another job, and all of this sort of stuff. So a lot of people don't feel comfortable posting on LinkedIn consistently and things like that, because they're worried that it gives that message. But I think if you're setting the right environment in the first place, to empower those individuals, then you're going to get a lot better from them, and your company will also as well.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned in that explanation that the support, so leaders supporting those people that have opted to be part of this. What does
Mm.
that support look like on a practical level?
Yeah, I think there's so many ways in which you can do that, right? I think there's encouraging, so identifying those within the business who want to be a little bit more active in creation of thought leadership. So, and that might be at first encouraging them to produce more content. So it might be writing a blog post on something that they're particularly interested in, and doing all of the smaller stuff first. But it might also be if there's an opportunity for the company to speak in an event, okay, is there someone on your team who is really eager to practice their skills with that? Or, providing them with training, there's making time for training as well is a huge thing. I think, when everybody's so busy, that often gets left by the wayside. And it's,
Yeah.
something that we're all guilty of going, oh, I just haven't got time for that. But
Yeah.
that's
I
really
know we're
important.
not here. We mandate the 8 hours a month, so
Yeah.
I'm really proud of the fact that actually training's front and center at Innovation Visual. But I
we
know what you mean. A lot of
huge.
organisations, it's the thing that gets pushed to the back. But
Yeah.
okay, so practical steps like that support that training, but also giving them opportunities is actually as supportive as the practical elements.
Yeah, and it also as well, it might be, if they want to start posting more on LinkedIn more consistently and becoming more visible that way, encouraging them to go to conferences and events, because that gives them topics that they can talk about, and they can start to post around and show where your company are, where have they got a stand here, or are they attending this event? What are you doing within the industry, and how does that individual contribute towards that? And then, from my side as well, kind of I produce. I actively help on a one-to-one basis people who want to produce more thought leadership content on a regular basis via LinkedIn, and so having that kind of toolbox almost that you're
Yeah.
providing somebody, so that they have a sounding board. They're not left out
Yeah.
on their own and feeling a little bit unconfident and not sure how to go
Yeah.
about it or how to get started.
Yeah. Well, so how should leaders start thinking about like topics? Because you said, oh, somebody could start off by writing a blog about something that they're interested in.
Mm.
Does that need to be, though, more strategically thought about what the subject matter that gets pushed out is?
Yeah, and I think that will all come from the content strategy that the company has anyway, right? So there'll be I'm sure, every brand will have the pillars of content that they want to focus on for particular times of year, and they might do sprints around that. They might, whatever that looks like for that individual company. But if you have somebody on your team who, for example, is really interested in the growth of AI and how that's impacting B2B tech organizations, for example, or the systems that they use, then okay, we've got a quarter within the year where we really want to push a lot more content around that topic. So let's, we know that this person is eager to support in that sense. So let's get them involved, and and the more you do something, the more confident you feel at it, right? And I think it's providing those opportunities.
Okay, okay. You mentioned the word consistent quite consistently through this, to make a pun there. So what it actually is the definition then of consistently in your mind?
So, and it's a really good question. I think it just depends on what you can commit to, right? I think the showing up and, like I say, providing value on a consistent basis. So that might look like, for me, as a minimum, once a week, but it might be twice, three times every weekday, whatever you feel comfortable with. And particularly when you get started, I think it's building that muscle up, and it does take time, and it's you can sit there for hours, obsessing over one post when you're first starting out. But as you do that, and you practice that, and you flex that muscle, then that does become a lot easier. And so I committed to, like I say, once a week on when I first started posting on LinkedIn or twice a week, and then I've grown and now I'm posting every weekday. But that allows you to stay front of mind. So if you do have somebody who is following you, they might not even be engaging with your content, but they're steadily building that trust with you. And then when they are in market and you are able to just, provide a solution to their problem, the first person that comes to mind is you, because you have consistently been there every week providing something that's of value to them.
Okay. How would you then help, like, or say to marketing leads what do they need to do to get this stuff discovered? Because one of the things I hear back from some people is, oh, I've been posting, but I don't think anybody's reading it, or I'm not getting any traction from it. What's the secret to actually getting that traction? Because if you could be writing the best thing ever, but if nobody's reading it, it's not going to be helping you, is it?
Yeah, and it's really difficult to pinpoint one thing, because there's so much that goes into it. I think I would say, if I was to sum it up in one word, it would just be authenticity and value. People trust people. They want to resonate with you. So personal, storytelling is really helpful. Engaging with other people's content. So, LinkedIn is a social media platform after all. You don't want to just post and ghost, as they call it. You want to put posts out there. You want to be commenting on other people's, and providing valuable parts of the being part of that conversation there. But also, if people are posting on your content, replying to them, responding to them, asking them more questions, and also DMs as well is a huge thing. Having those personal conversations with people who you're starting to connect with and building those relationships, so it doesn't feel like you are just putting something into this kind of dark space and nothing is coming back at you. It's a social media platform. Ultimately, it's there. You're there to build relationships, and so there are so many components to that. Which again, this is why I've built out kind of a big curriculum that's based around that. So there's not one thing, but when you get all of those building blocks in place, then you can grow a really engaged community. And personally for me, all my leads since I've started my business have been from LinkedIn or referrals from my network. So it's there's a lot that you can achieve with it, and it's a brilliant tool for that.
Okay. The devil's advocate position would be, Robyn, that sounds like it's going to take a lot of time to do, and take a lot of time over a period of time. And we all know that, not only CMOs, but also investors and things, they're not known to be patient people. So how do you kind of align people when it comes to this kind of thought leadership strategy?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, it's the age-old argument, isn't it? Like brand versus demand, and where should you be placing your budget? And I think ultimately I think there's a fundamental issue in the way with what a lot of marketers are facing now, which is, I speak to a lot of frustrated marketing leaders who are, their budgets have been cut, but they're still required to produce the same output over a very short period of time, right?
Or more.
Or more.
Cut the budget and ask for more.
Less. Exactly. Yeah. So, I think they are currently set targets that are heavily lead based. And the problem is, when you're reducing the budgets that go alongside that, then you're heavily turning on like lead generation activities and things like that. The issue that you have is, without all the brand and awareness and the trust building that goes on top of that, then you're not going to be front of mind for these prospects when they are in market. So you're less likely to be on that consideration list. So when you do those lead generation activities, then the quality of the leads isn't going to be there. That's going to take a hit, and you're potentially looking at even longer sales cycles. So there's a hit that comes further along that process if you decide that actually that's not worth the investment in the longer term brand building stuff. So yeah, it's an issue that comes at the moment from that needs to come from the top, in terms of the solution to that.
Okay. Okay. So then you talked about the commitment to do it as well. Um, how how should the leaders, because they're basically engaging with people within the organization to take this on, and as you rightly say at the start, this shouldn't be something which is imposed. This should be people choosing to do this. How should leaders be looking to encourage the maintenance of that commitment? Because we've just heard it is going to take time, it is going to take an investment of effort. How should leaders try and get their people to stay the course?
Yeah, and I personally think the best way to do that is leading with the benefit to the individual. So you're only going to do something if you feel, all of us are the same. We're only going to do something if we feel that we're going to get a personal output out of something. To do something that consistently over a long period of time, it has to be beneficial to you personally. So I think for that, it's visibility within the industry, career opportunities, within the business as well. So representing companies on stage events and podcasts like this, for example, this is all things that a lot of people want to do more of, or it might be being more visible to senior leadership or going for that promotion that they want to go for. All of this sort of stuff is our personal goals of people that they can then from the management team, they can say, look, these are the benefits to you if you did want to get involved, and we're going to provide all the tools and resources to you to be able to do that. And it can't be just solid company content every day. That's not the goal of this. The goal of this is personal storytelling and building up what are your particular topic that you're really passionate about and you're really knowledgeable about. How can that show up and be helpful to people, and 5 ways to do this, or here's some tips and ways to make this particular process easier. And that's how you show up and you just be helpful to people, is the best way to do it.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna move adjacent on the thought leadership from what we've been talking about, and I know that you do work with I'm gonna influencers, which is not your not the thing that sometimes immediately comes to mind with influencers. But tell us about how marketing and revenue leaders could maybe work with B2B influencers. How does that all happen?
Yeah. So it's I think particularly for B2C, influencers have been used very heavily. We're very familiar with the use across B2C. It's your Love Island stars and your kind of all of this sort of thing, right? In B2B, that individual looks very different. They're a subject matter expert in their particular field, and so they really hold authority in their space. And so by partnering with these individuals, there's a value exchange of they're providing more value to their community, who have they've built up over a long period of time, and these people will typically include your target buyers. So they are providing value to them in a way that also promotes your latest solution, or showcases the value that it can bring to them. And so these partnerships are growing within the industry. There's a lot more of them happening, and they're really valuable. And I think at the moment it feels quite like a left field tactic for a lot of B2B brands, but it's actually soon, I think, going to be a real core component of the a full channel media strategy, and how you can amplify certain events that you have happening throughout the year by working with these really credible subject matter experts.
Okay, interesting. How would somebody go about finding them?
Well, this is it. So there are I mean, looking at who holds authority within your space, and who is open to partnerships. But that's where I come in. So I work directly with brands to say, okay, let's look at your brief. For me personally, because I've got a background in media strategy, I like to look at the full plan that a brand has in place so that I can advise, okay, this is where we're probably going to see the most impact if we wrap actually some influencer activity around this event or this white paper release you've got coming up or whatnot. And then once looking at individuals that might be able to help with that, and are comfortable with the offering and the value that it brings to their community. And then also looking at the style of the content, right? So, for example, a brand might not have a huge amount of resources to create great video content. So working with a subject matter expert who is fantastic at video content can really kind of, add on to their strategy and amplify it that way as well. So there's a lot of things to consider, and working with the right people is really important. So there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you've talked before about nurturing early stage leads. So can you use this methodology to guide them through a buying journey? Is that something that can be done?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think just early as early as possible, as we've kind of talked about, being helpful is the number one. Just helping buyers identify the issues that they're genuinely facing on a day-to-day, and just making them feel seen and heard, and just being like, oh, okay, this person gets me. They can understand that, they know what I'm, the challenges that I have. And that builds trust effectively over a period. And then having kind of smaller virtual talks and things like that when you're getting through to the stage where they might be more interested in exploring, further with you, and having something that's a bit more in depth. But certainly that thought leadership initially is really important for just staying in front of mind, and for that consistency that we've talked about is really, really crucial.
Okay. That sounds good, and I think from my understanding of how this has worked well before in the past as well, is you shouldn't expect these the people in your organization that are doing the thought leadership piece to actually do the selling, because they should be handing them off to people when there are sort of sales active questions, should we say?
Yeah, of course. And I'm kind of talking in the sense that it is that person who's producing that thought leadership is in a sales capacity. So yeah, but if they're not, looping people in and making sure that they're being valuable, building that trust, but they're also, when that person is ready, then they're looping in the necessary people within the organisation to explore that further.
Okay, that's good. So we love looking ahead at innovation vision. We love change. So what do you see, like, looking ahead in terms of the evolution of the B2B buying process, and what maybe B2B brands should do to prepare themselves better for the evolution?
Yeah, I think the role of social media and how that plays into the decision making will only increase in B2B over the next few years. In particular, I think historically buyers have always depended on salespeople to provide them with those insights, information while they're going through that decision making process. But now, because of social media and how much it's used, there are so many people that information can come from. So it's making sure that you have the right people in place to support that, because ultimately, like we said, people trust people. That's why there's now an increase in things like the partnerships as well with the B2B influencers. They trust these credible subject matter experts who are really knowledgeable within their field, and their endorsement what carries a lot of weight. So but it needs, the important thing is with anything like this, so with the thought leadership and influencer marketing, is it just needs to feel authentic, genuine and sincere. It can't feel like a really pushy sales piece. it has to be, I truly believe in the value of what we're providing, and I'm going to help you with information that's needed to help you make your decision around that.
Yeah, I like that. And I think authenticity is something that that is so important across any kind of engagement these days, with whether it's B2B or B2C. So no,
Absolutely,
completely aligned
yeah.
with you on that. So then I suppose that those people listening, you've got them, I imagine, very excited about all of this stuff. What are the actionable things that a marketing leader who's listening might think, okay, I can go ahead and I can start doing those things? What should they be?
Yeah. So I think identifying people within your organization who feel that they want to get involved in this more. And as we discussed, putting those things in place to help them and empower them and support them. So, celebrating the small achievements that they have along the way, helping them to, with opportunities to produce more thought leadership content, and giving them the resources and the support and the toolbox to start posting on LinkedIn a little bit more, be more active, and that all of that together. Once you've got that, it's then providing content that's helpful and actionable as well is a really good one. But giving value for free, and just, as we've said throughout this whole episode, be consistent.
Yeah, okay, we like that. Well, I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot of people excited about what you've said, and people will be excited to learn more about Paperkite Media. So how are they going to engage with you, Robyn, and Paperkite Media? How should they best get hold of you? And I've got a funny feeling you might say LinkedIn at this point.
You guessed right. Yeah. So LinkedIn is probably the best place to catch me. So Robyn Hartley at Paperkite Media. So yeah, send me a connection request. And yeah, if there's anything that you in particular that you'd find useful around this topic, then just ping me a DM and let me know. But yeah, I always love continuing the conversation, and it's something I feel incredibly passionate about, and I love to help businesses with. So.
No, that's good, and we will also put that link to your profile on the show notes on the various different platforms too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful conversation. So yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been really good. I found it thoroughly enjoyable, as all of our conversations are, Robyn. So it's really good that you've shared those insights with those people that have signed up to Digital Marketing Answered.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and to those of you sparing your valuable time to listen to this episode, we really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, please do like, subscribe, also do comment. We do want to hear it, and as Robyn has said today, this is social media, so let's have a conversation about this content. So from all of the Digital Marketing Arts team at Innovation Visual, thank you very much for your attention. Please do join us again on a future episode.